Alright, we are in the section known as I Am, also known as the Indian Mound here in Elmwood Cemetery. Coming up to the gravesite of Ebenezer Benham. Not much is known about Ebenezer, but what is known is that he served as the Detroit City Marshal in 1848. I'm unsure if that's like a political position or perhaps a law enforcement type position here in Detroit. But anyways, here is his gravesite and monument rather. And there's the thing about the Benham monument is that there's several other Benham monuments in this particular area, the Indian Mound area. There's this one right here. It's a fairly large one. I'm unsure on who it is, but it appears that there's a lot of Benham relatives buried here. So and I think there's one right there, but we're not going to go check it out. Alright, we are in section B of Elmwood Cemetery, coming up to the monument and gravesite of William Allen, or I believe it's William Allen Canty. He was a psychiatrist and also professor at Wayne State University here in downtown Detroit. The thing about William Canty, or Allen Canty, is that he had a thing for prostitutes, and he had one of his favorite prostitutes, rather, pretty much. Well, actually, here's how the story goes. He was a professor down here in Wayne State University here in downtown Detroit, not too far from where I'm at, and he met this prostitute down in the Cass Corridor, which is pretty much where the Wayne State University campus is located. The Cass Corridor, let me summarize, pretty much has a reputation for being a drug-infested, prostitution-infested area. Many undesirables live there. Anyways, to make a long story short, Allen Canty befriended this prostitute, and I'm unsure what her name was at the moment. But anyways, to summarize, this prostitute and her pimp, rather, were worried that the gravy train or the money train was going to run out with Professor Canty, so they pretty much murdered him. And one thing to mention about Mr. Canty here, Professor Canty, is that the true crime thriller book entitled Masquerade is based on his story and his murder, or his untimely murder, rather. So here is his gravesite. It's a really nice monument, I believe. That's his father right there, and I believe that must be his mother. And this is him. This is Allen Canty, the subject of the book Masquerade. Alright, now we are coming up to the monument of Zachary Chandler. He served as mayor of Detroit in 1851 and was also a U.S. Senator for the state of Michigan in 1857, serving until 1875. So here's his monument. It's a rather tall monument. Let's see. Yeah, it's rather tall, as you can see. And over here is his grave marker. Take notice to the ZC, which stands for Zachary Chandler, of course. And I believe this one right here, next to him to the left of him, is his wife. Over here is, I'm unaware who that is, but it might be his son or something. But here's a close-up view of the name on the monument, the Zachariah Chandler name. He was born in, it appears, Bedford, New Hampshire, on December 10th of 1813, and died in Chicago on November 1st, 1879. This part right here must be his wife. It says Letitia Grace Douglas, wife of Zachariah Chandler, died February 19th of 1899. Let me get a close-up view of the name Chandler on the monument, the main name rather. So here it is. And alright, we're in section Lakeview of Elmwood Cemetery. Coming up to the gravesite of Edwin Denby. He was he served as Secretary of the Navy under President Harding, and also during World War I he resigned his position as a young congressman rather, to serve in the Navy to serve in the war during World War I. And one of the interesting things about Edwin Denby is that Denby High School here in Detroit is named after him. And over here is his gravesite, or his marker rather. He died in 1870 he was born in 1870 and died in 1928. So here's a little bit of biographical information about him. He was a Secretary of the Navy, as I mentioned, in 1921 to 1924. What else is on there that I could mention? He was president of the Detroit Board of Commerce in 1916 to 1917. Enlisted as a private in the United States Marine Corps for World War I in 1917 with American Expeditionary Forces in France in 1918. Honorably discharged as a Major of the U.S. Marine Corps on December 31st of 1918. He was a Chief Probation Officer of the Recorder's Court of the City of Detroit 1919 to 1920. And that pretty much sums it up. So here's his monument. There's his name. And right here is his marker. See the initials Stephen S.B.G., which stands for Stephen B. Drummond, is right there. Then on the other side here, it says simply Father. Now over here is another Stephen B. Drummond, but I believe this is his son. And his son is listed up here his son was born in 1866 and died on June 5th, 1898, while Senior was born on September 18th of 1831 and died on January 2nd of 1894. So, there he is. Alright.